Hi, Bethany Manxello here. You have joined us for the magnificent monthly Millwall podcast, which features thoughts from the panel about what affects the beautiful game and Millwall. Enjoy!
Hello everyone and welcome to this season's fourth No One Likes Us Talking monthly show. I'm your host Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of former Lion Phil Coleman and Millwall superfan Ted Robinson.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Evening Phil and superfan Ted, how are you both?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Myles.
Yeah, I've never been called super about anything, but thank you anyway, Myles. It's appreciated.
I was writing this and I thought, why not call him a superfan?
Super Phil's got a ring to it.
It sounds better than Super Ted.
Since the last monthly show then, guys, Joe Edwards has settled in at the Den. He's now got 4 wins, 4 draws and 7 losses in 15 games managed. Phil, we'll start with you, mate. We was having a chat about this, but just before, what would you make of his tenure so far?
I'd probably say it's a work in progress. I think the transition period is going to be lengthy. Obviously, he's under pressure because first and foremost, he's got to pick up points and keep us in the league. We're not a million miles away from the bottom. We're not a million miles away from the top, but he's got a problem. He's come into a club as a young, inexperienced manager, and it's not easy getting to know players, their strengths and their weaknesses. Are they capable of changing? Can they adapt to what he wants? If they can't, then some of them will go down the pecking order, and depending on their contract, they could go this summer. But he's got a decent squad. He's inherited a decent squad, and he will see them day to day on the training ground, and who can play, defend, attack as he wants it. So he's looking at making changes. In a club, you can come in and make big changes straight away. For me, that's a bit risky. It takes time to assess the players and change them. Or you can come in, and the alternative to big changes is lots of little changes. I used to call them little 1%ers, and they all add up. And it's a bit of less of a risk. But the bottom line, he's got to carry on winning points while he gets what he wants. It may well be that he's got to solve that defensive problem and create clean sheets. And his biggest headache is trying to sort out the final third and creating and scoring goals, which is the toughest part of football, whether you're Brazil or Man City, trying to score goals in a tough league. Great teams. You've only got to look at make-up of the team in the Championship. They've come down from the Premier League. They're not necessarily going back. They've got great defenders and keepers earning good money, and it all adds up. And if Joe cracks that one, keep a clean sheet and we score more goals, that's the perfect recipe. But that might take time. Along with bringing through the youngsters, dealing with loans, dealing with other issues like injuries. It's not easy, and hopefully he's getting good advice. He needs to bounce off somebody. Looking at him, it looks like he wants to play 3-5 and 1 or 2 strikers, so definitely wing backs. For me, that's flexible. So you're under pressure, you bring the 5 defenders back in the midfield, sit in front, or if you're attacking, those wing backs become wingers, which is norm for quite a few clubs all over the world now. That exposes the outside centre backs, and for me, I think Cooper is being played on in behind Brian. But that's up to Joe to sort those tactical issues out and get the right players in the right positions and polishing everything up. And as I say, winning points is absolutely vital, keeping us in this league. And then he'll get to the summer, which will be key if we're still in the Championship. Whose contracts are up, who goes, who stays, who comes in, and then as time goes by, and it could be that long process, as I mentioned, that Joe Edwards gets the players that he wants, the style of play that he wants, and it moves on. But good luck to him. But for me, it's definitely work in progress, and keep on winning games while developing what you want overall.
Exactly. Ted, your thoughts, mate? Anything to add on to that wonderful win?
Well, yeah, and I mean, Phil covers all sorts of things there, and he's right about every one of them, I think.
Cheers. Sorry.
Well, it is. I mean, the thing is, Phil, I think me and you have got what I think is very short supply in fans these days, and that's patience. I can see in the games that Joe's been in charge, right, but the results may not be too different than what Gary Rowett got in lots of respects. But don't forget, this team was always been, even under Gary Rowett, they've had spells where they haven't won many games. They've had a run of losses, shall we say. But what I've seen since Joe's come in is there is an improvement in some of the players in the confidence they've got with the ball. I mean, the way our back three have started knocking the ball around and getting it out to the wing backs, I'm not so jumpy now as I was when they was under Gary Rowett. Let's put it that way. They seem to be a bit more confident in what they're trying to do. We moved the ball when we're playing well a lot quicker. It seems to get from back to front in a proper passing manner, not just hoofed up there, if that's the right phrase. And Joe's managed to do that in these players. He's it's new to them, I think. It's a different style of play. It's the back three, and Phil, I'm sure will appreciate this, seem to push right up further now than they did before, which we always worried about when they push forward because of lack of pace. I still would say they've got a bit of lack of pace, but they're encouraged to push right up onto the halfway line now. So you can see Joe's methods getting through to some of them. That doesn't mean it's perfect at the moment. It doesn't mean that there ain't things to work on, because there always is. The one thing I haven't liked since Joe's been here was the performance against QPR, because I think the one thing no Millwall fan likes to see, and no football fan likes to see, is their side out-fought. And that's what I thought QPR did to us. I don't think they was a better side than us, but they out-fought us. And that was disappointing, to say that. But by and large, things, I think, are going in the right way, because some of the football they have played has been good, very good, been attractive. You know, the first half hour against Middlesbrough was cracking. Even on Saturday, we looked quite dominant until we give the one goal away that they got. But so there's been some good aspects about Joe. But what we have to understand is this guy, it's his first managerial job. And as Phil knows, it's entirely different being a coach than it is to being the number one, the main person. And he's learning and learning on the job, so to speak. So he says the right things for me after matches when I've heard him talk about what the performance was like and what have you. He seems very knowledgeable, seems like the right man for me. It's important that we stay in this division. I think we've certainly got enough to do that. And hopefully we achieve that. And then the next season could be something special for us, I think.
And also, while you were talking, Ted, I've got a few bits in my head. Joe Edwards has had to get the players on his side as well. Because when a new manager comes in, and I've been a part, what I'm going to say now is being a player and a coach, and both on that side of the fence. When a new manager comes in, and I will mention Peter Anderson once and once only.
Thank God for that, Bill.
Yeah, you're trying to work him out, and straight away, I'm sorry, but no credibility whatsoever. Jules Graham comes in, total credibility. The fella had won everything, he'd done everything, and straight away his coaching sessions were meticulous. So you bang on board with a fella, whether you liked him or not, you're on board. And I've had other managers where poor man management, great coach. Great man management, poor coach. When you get them both together, the players will be on side far quicker. So Joe's had to deal with that, and I think the players will be trusting him now. They can see he's a good coach. And he's got a real problem because it's not easy building something whilst maintaining something. And what I mean by that is the players have got to maintain hard work. They've got to be tough to beat. They've got to put a shift in every week. They've got a clean sheet, keep a clean sheet. He's got to deal with injuries, but he's also got to be creating and changing things. Now we've moved from what looks like 40% possession to 55% possession. But we're going to lose games, even though we're improving, because on the training ground, he will be working on patterns of play, which allows those players, instead of under Gary Rowett, there will be sort of like backstops and there'll be safety nets all through the patterns of play, keeping possession. While you keep possession, you're getting players forward. But unfortunately, every now and again, there's going to be an interception. And because you've pushed up as a defence, and because the midfield have got further forward, those interceptions are absolute killers, because there's nobody at home and they're straight onto you. So he's got to solve that as well. So he's trying to keep a clean sheet, he's trying to score goals, he's trying to develop the possession, get players further up the pitch, get the wing backs to become actual out and out wingers, or even in the box scoring goals. But if you give the ball away, oh dear me, it's hell. So he's got that transition from attack to defence and defence to attack, and it's not easy. Great players do it. They do both. They get forward, they play, they don't give the ball away. If they do, they've got a knack of getting back and delaying and slowing everything down. So for me, it's a transformation, and hopefully he'll get it. He may well need some better players to do it, but he certainly looks like he's polishing what we've got, which is no mean feat, and well done to him.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take a break there and listen to myself and Stan Godwin talking about Bermondsey Town. Bermondsey Town, you heard of them?
I have, but what about them?
They're a football club based in Rotherhithe. They're currently members of the Kent Football League Premier Division and play at the St Paul Sports Ground, Salter Road. They ground share with Fisher on match days. It's where the Millwall Lionesses, Romans and Pride play on Sundays.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, if Millwall are away, I'll get along.
Check out the fixtures and details on the Bermondsey Town website.
I will give it a go.
%. Thank you very much as well to NOLUT is Talking for sponsoring Saturday the 10th of February, our next home game of 2024. And say hello to the NOLUTers in attendance. They are, of course, sponsoring the game. A special thanks to myself and the club, to Eamon Barkley and the NOLUT is Talking team for sponsoring the game. So then, Millwall have sold out quite a few home games this season. Lots of people coming from abroad to watch us. Some fans on social media have scrutinised these tourists and said they shouldn't be coming and are ruining the Den's atmosphere. Ted, what do you make of it?
Well, are we allowed to swear on this podcast? I can never really remember what one I'm on. Look, these people that say, at the end of the day, the thing with Millwall Football Club and the thing about football in general, if there's spaces in the ground, then people, whoever they are entitled to buy a ticket and go along and watch. And these foreigners, a lot of them sit round by me, and guess what? They're all supporting Millwall. So I don't see why these people... What would you want? I'd rather have a stadium that's full, because the money's going into Millwall's bank, than a stadium that's half full of the people that... Let's face it, the people that go every week. Because at the end of the day, if Millwall was in the First Division... Half the people, probably the ones on social media that are moaning about these foreigners that are coming into the ground, probably wouldn't be going, because they'd be saying the football was rubbish or something like that. So look, at the end of the day, if it makes money for our club, you've got to embrace it. And these people, like I say, I wouldn't mind, they're not coming in cheering the opposition, they're still cheering Millwall, and some of them make more noise than some of the other our own people in the ground, you know. So I'm all for it. I'd love it to be sold out every week with everybody that lives just round the corner from the ground, but that doesn't happen. So you take the people in that want to come and watch it. I meet quite a few of the people in the pub that I go in as well. They come over from Norway, they come over from Sweden, and you know, they make a weekend of it, and then they will tell you they are Millwall fans. So I don't know what the problem is with the people that say it's a problem. I don't know how it takes away from the atmosphere, because the atmosphere at the Den is what it is, whatever game we play, and it's normally pretty good. So I generally have no idea what these people are talking about. And to me, inside the ground, everybody being in there cheering for Millwall, the more the merrier. It doesn't bother me where they come from. Yeah. Is that a rant? It sounded a little bit like one. But
I think Phil might let one off.
Yeah, go with it, Phil.
That's a good rant, Ted. I'm thinking here as you're talking. We've got the past versus the present, and you know, if you wanted the crowds of the 80s and 90s to now, you've only got to look at most clubs have built new stadiums. They put on new stands. You know, the fans. There's 2,000, 3,000 crowds at non-league games now. You know, and we have higher gates. You know, we've got an improved average attendance. Wonder why that is. I'll tell you why, because it's an attractive league to watch. It's the Championship, you know. You've got good opposition that attracts crowds, normally a good atmosphere. It helps that the London Tourist Board have whacked us on their must visit. And all of that actually helps gate income. We're close to central London. We're one stop from London Bridge on the tourist marketing board. But fans demand new signings, and that will cost money. And all fans bring in that money, and it doesn't matter whether you're 70, 80 years old or you're a baby down at the Den. We need the income, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. Or we mentioned it earlier, we're going to fall foul of financial fair play rules and the Derby counters of this world. And you touched on that, Ted. We've got fans from all over the place. They fly in from abroad. I mean, the lad Jens Bartel is just one. He flies in from Germany for every game. You know, we're going to ban him. He's spending a fortune supporting the club. So whether it's for one game, some people tell. I've got a little story as well. My son lives in New Jersey, and the parents of the kids that he coaches, he's been telling them he's based his coaching company on Millwall. He's got the same lion, he's got the same colours, he's called them Lions, and he's been telling the parents, oh, Millwall this, Millwall that. Well, some of the parents decided to go to London for holiday, and the first thing they did is they went to Millwall. They went down there, had a fantastic experience, couldn't understand why they were swearing so much and cursing at their own players and booing their own players, but they have had a hell of an experience. They've gone back to New Jersey and they're telling all the parents, you've got to go to Millwall, it's a crazy place, you must visit. So the word's out there, and whoever's promoting the club is doing a fantastic job, because we need to build a fan base, and we can't have a reputation of violence. It's gone. I was in those times. I saw from the pitch. I saw the punch-ups on the terraces, and we've had helicopters and outriders and police vans at hotels the night before a game. So that reputation killed our crowds. Now, what am I seeing? Youngsters, families, foreign fans. That's to be admired. They want a hostile, violent atmosphere, but we also want it to be safe. And as I say, that creates income. You get a full house. You create lifelong supporters, and fantastic 18,000 crowds, great atmosphere, and also secondary income, because these foreign fans will come over. They won't just buy their ticket for £32. They'll buy a shirt, they'll buy a track top, they'll spend money on food and beer, and again, all that adds up to getting players in and running the club prudently. And I think you mentioned, Ted, it's better to have 18,000, including tourists, coming over than an empty, soulless stadium of about 8,000-9,000 hardcore fans. So I'm with you on that one, Ted. We've moved a long way, and long may it continue. And I actually look forward to the ground being developed and we get 20,000 plus every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Myles, I was going to say, I've been many conversations, Phil, about how you get people into the ground. How do we get supporters coming back towards? Well, there's obvious ways. You get a successful team, in a sense. If they're winning on the pitch, tends to mean that people want to come. In this day and age, the days of when I grew up, when you just supported your local team and you went regardless, and it didn't matter what division you were in, sort of gone to a certain extent. People want to come out and watch a successful team, so you have to make your football team attractive. There's a few ways you can do that. Your old side Wrexham, Phil, they sort of got these big owners come in and jetted up the old community about what is going to happen, and it sort of brought on the success that they're having at this moment in time. I was winning 1-0, Phil, by the way, but now they're losing 2-1 to Blackburn. Right. That's another story. But you know what I mean? There's different ways of getting people through the door. And Millwall have found a way of attracting people from abroad to come and see us and come and watch us. And that is it. The key is, at the end of the day, you get 18,000 in that stadium every game. We all know if we got in the Premier League, you wouldn't get a ticket for love and money for our stadium. Because if a small club like ours can sell out Wembley when they go there, you just have to say to yourself, well, where's all the rest of them week in, week out? That's double the amount that can get into our stadium, yet they don't, or they wasn't, turning up week in, week out. So if someone comes over and makes a trip to London, like Phil was saying, to see a football, want to take in a football game, I'd rather they took Millwall in than they went to Chelsea or anywhere else. And so, yeah, let's hope it carries on like that.
Yeah.
As you're talking, Ted, I just jotted a few things down. Fans need a safe place. They need an attractive place or an attractive team, an attractive league. We're in a damn good league, And for the last 5 seasons, we ain't yo-yoing up and down, which puts fans off, because if you go down, you get a lesser standard. You're not playing Leeds, you're not playing Southampton, you're playing whoever's in Division 1. And but the ticket prices will probably be the same because you've got to maintain the players' contracts. There's a word of mouth, the family have gone back to New Jersey, and at some stage you're going to get a load of people from New Jersey coming over to take in the game. You've got football in the community, which is doing a great job. I'm sure the club are working in schools and talking to schools, and some of the footballing community are going into schools. And then there's the marketing bit, the tourist board or the club and TikTok and all the social media channels. It all adds up to 18,000 crowds. And I've never known an average 14,000 crowds, end of last season. Look at the old Den. Everybody, and me included, what a place. But my life, you were struggling sometimes in the 70s, 80s to get foot. I played in front of 2,900 or 4,000. We've built a fan base, and I don't care how you do it. As I've just mentioned, the people coming through the gates are sustaining the club. It's a lifeline, and it allows us to build. And if the word gets out and they all bring a friend the next game, we'll be begging for tickets. We'll need a stand extension. So I don't care who pays. I don't care the secondary spend. It's all good for the club, and it allows the club to move forward, and that's what every fan wants.
Yeah, that's it as well. Sorry, just to finish up, Myles. I've been in meetings talking about whether they could build and extend the stadium or make it bigger, or make it larger, fill the corners in, all this sort of stuff being spoken about. The only way that Millwall Football Club would ever get to that situation is when the demand for tickets is more than what we've actually got, which means we need to be in the Premier League before you can even consider that. Because we all know there's lots of people out there. I've got friends, that are Millwall fans in their heart, but they don't go week in, week out. If we was in the Premier League, they'd want a season ticket. That's the way football works, unfortunately. But to get to that stage, we need to have our ground being filled up week in, week out in the Championship, which, for me, to be quite honest, I think is the best football for Millwall that there could be. The Premier League could be really tough, because even if we was to fill our ground, we're not going to, unless a big investor came and had the money to really sort of go. I mean, people always say about Brentford, but Brentford have got a big investor backing them. You know what I mean? They haven't just doing it off of the crowds that they had before they got into the Premier League, that's for sure. But the bottom line is, as a club, we need to fill that stadium up week in, week out in the Championship. And then hopefully, if we get in the Premier League, maybe they might go for a bigger stadium, because they probably would need it.
Ted, I've got another one, little one. It's a little one, but it's big in terms of what we're talking about. I go to Harry's Bar, and you walk in there sometimes before a game, and there's 30, 40 people in there. I went there for the Middlesbrough game. It was packed, queuing outside the door. So they've changed it. They've redecorated it. They've done it all up. They've moved a few things around. I'm pretty certain that they're not all members in there, but the place was heaving. So it may have taken a bit of money from the local pubs, but Harry's Bar was packed, and the beer going over the counter was 100 times more than the season before. Now, if you make those changes and it becomes attractive, people come in. And that's what you've got to do with a club. You've got to look at exploiting every single opportunity of getting your own income through Harry's Bar change, through, pie and mash being sold at the ground, and through marketing. And if tourists come in, so be it, because it's along the same lines. You're just making more money for the club, and that allows you to keep moving forward in this game, which, as much as I hate it, and I said to Myles earlier, football has ruined, money has ruined football. But if you haven't got money, you're going to be at the bottom of the league and relegated, and you could fall out of the Football League like your Southend's and Chesterfields of recent times, Notts County and Wrexham. The money comes back into Notts County and Wrexham, and funnily enough, they go up the league again. So we have to be really good at making changes. We have to be really good at promotion and marketing and getting those fans through the door.
Yep, 100%. Some great analysis there, and we're already half an hour into the show. We'll take a break there and listen to our fantastic sponsors, Dean Wilson's Family Funeral Directors.
Hello, Dean, Myles here.
Hi, Myles.
Hi, mate. Your funeral directors are famed for caring for Millwall families
Where are you located and how far afield have you travelled to accommodate the needs of families?
Well, we've got 2 branches. Our main one's in Eltham, in Wellhall Road, and we've got another one in Locks Bottom, which is near Alpington. Millwall fans all round us. We cover all areas, and we do travel for families. We had a lady very recently that passed away up north, but it was her wish to come back to South London for a funeral, so that's what we did. We went up to Sheffield and we brought her back. We quite often carry out funerals for Millwall families all over South London and Kent, right down to the south coast.
Dean Wilson, Independent Family Funeral Directors, caring for Millwall families. No matter how near or far, should you need them at any time, ring 0208 33 11 111. That's 0208 33 11 111. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the NOLUT Talking monthly show team of Ted Robinson and Phil Coleman. Thanks very much to Dean Wilson for sponsoring our monthly show. Last week, Millwall signed 2 new players, each on loan from 2 Premier League clubs. The first was Japhet Tanganga on loan from Spurs, and the second, Michael Obafemi on loan from Burnley. Phil, what do you think either of these will add to the Lions squad?
Is it a sign of intent from Joe Edwards? Interesting enough, both Londoners, both with very good pedigrees, quality players. Not seen enough of them to make my mind up, but they look quality. The snips I've seen. Tanganga's played in the Premier League. He's coming in as a centre back or a right back, but given that we've got a couple of right backs and one's already on loan from Arsenal, I think he's coming in as a centre back. He's played at every age group for England. Looks like he's had a few injuries that have sort of held him back a little bit, but Tanganga looks at another potentially very good loan, and I would probably say some fans won't agree with me, but when you sign players, they have to be better than what you've got, and he looks like he's better than what we've got at the moment at the back as the 3 centre backs. He looks athletic, which gives us that pace, and that is. You probably know from some of our conversations and our WhatsApp message group that I love defenders with pace, and anybody that's athletic at the back, I feel safer, I feel more secure. It's all right having big centre backs, but they need to be quick because they're dealing with some of the quickest strikers in the Championship. Michael Obafemi, again, a striker, a Republic of Ireland international, and not seen much of him, but I did a bit of digging this morning, and interested in his development from the age of 10. He was at Chelsea, Arsenal, Watford, Southampton. He's played 5 years in the Championship and the Premier League. He's played for the Republic of Ireland 19s, 21s. He's got full caps. And it was one of these comments where, oh my word, he's going to cause defenders a sleepless night, because I read this oh my word where I was shocked. His PB for the 100 metres is 10.8. Well, that is incredibly quick. So this guy is going to cause defenders a sleepless night. He's going to give us an attacking option. I'd like to see him and Watmore together, because Watmore's quick as well, and they will cause problems with their pace. And I'm beginning to think that Joe Edwards has got a few lads in that have got pace, and is that his intent? He wants somebody quick up front. He's only 5'7", but he's 10.8 for the 100 metres. You know, he's not off the qualifying time for the Olympics. So, yeah, it looked 2 quality pedigree players, and they look athletic. And in Michael Obafemi's case, he's damn quick. So, yeah, exciting times to get them 2 in the team straight away. Look forward to seeing them.
Yeah, definitely. Now, but as you said, Phil, you know, we need fast centre-backs. Jake Cooper and Sean Hutchinson aren't fast.
No, everybody knows my feelings about having 3 very quick centre-backs. It allows you to push up the pitch. You're not going to get done. I look at Tottenham on the telly, Aston Villa on the telly. They're all pushing up because they've got really quick defenders. And if the ball over the top, if there's a counter-attack, they're not fussed because they are quicker than the strikers and they're going to get there first. I couldn't say that of our defenders. But if you did say, I'm going to play Tanganga, I'm going to play a fit Leonard, and I'm going to fit Harding, those 3 centre-backs would fill me with more confidence because of their pace and their athleticism. And as much as Hutchinson and Cooper have done the job and they've won millions of headers, I think the game's changing. The ball's on the floor a lot more. They're feeding the ball into quick strikers in the channels. They're trying to split the defenders, get in behind our wing backs. And to play Joe Edwards' style of football, I think you need quick defenders. The 3 centre-backs need to be really quick. So this might fit. But I will say, if you're bringing these 2 in, and you might get another player in, if they're all fit, that is one big squad that he has got to keep happy. He may well have to loan a few out, but that could be a very, very big squad. All first team quality players. You know, you've got 25, possibly more players now that you've got to keep happy, and people have been knocking on the door. So on one hand, it's great competition for places, but on the other hand, you've got to keep these players fit that are not youngsters, that they're senior pros that want first team games. So difficult job balancing that squad.
Yeah, definitely. Ted, what do you make of it, mate?
Yeah, well, Phil said it. They're quality players, aren't they? I mean, of course, they're going to be a little bit ring rusty because neither of them have played too much football recently. But I thought Taganga, I know people will focus on the one bad pass that cost us the goal.
Of course they will. They always look for negatives, don't they?
My word, he looked I don't know about how Phil feels, but to me, he comes across like an old-fashioned defender. You know, his game's defending first, but he's comfortable coming out with the ball, which is he looks strong to me. That's the thing I like about him. He looks strong. He looks like it's going to take someone a little bit special to get past him. But I'm sure the more games he plays, the better he'll get. Same with Michael Webber-Femi. I always like the look of a player, but when I've seen his name on a team sheet against us, I think, oh, God. Or coming off the bench, you know. Obafemi's an explosive type of player. He's one of them sort of players that I'm pretty sure... I know Phil, when he was a centre-half, he liked to battle, but there's certain players and their qualities that you think straight away, oh, God, I'm in for a game today. And I think Obafemi is the sort of guy that would put the fear of God up players. With his pace, as Phil's pointed out, the speed of the guy. He nearly caught the guy out on Saturday when he sort of appeared from nowhere. All of a sudden, was only an inch away from nicking the ball off of the guy. But they're quality players, Myles, and that's the thing. If this is what Joe Edwards is aiming for, this is the quality of sort of player he's going for, then Millwall's in good hands because both these guys have got a little something to prove with themselves, which is great because they can prove it down at Millwall, to a few people because they've had a couple of injuries and they've come back. But they've certainly got the talent, the pair of them. And that's what's important. In any football team, football club, your players need to be talented. They are. Yeah, but the bottom line is you can't have too many good, talented players. And I'm excited to see these guys get fully up to speed and playing for the rest of the season and playing to their capabilities, which I'm sure Joe's hoping as well.
Yeah,
Ted, you touched on something there, Ted, about Tanganga likes to defend. They're like a rarity today. Defenders that want to tackle, want to mark, want to impose themselves, and because he's athleticism, because he's quick. I've read an article on him, and he actually quoted that himself. I want to defend. I enjoy the challenge. I want to mark it. I want to make it difficult for my opponent. And trust me, they're like a rare breed. Everybody wants to get the ball down and play. They want to test it and look good across the back. Listen, if you're in the back four, if you're in the back three, if you're in the back five, Space never scored a goal. Players do. And you have to mark in the box. You have to win headers. You have to get tight. You have to take these players on. You have to dominate strikers. And I think you're right, Ted, that he looks like he wants to do that and he's happy doing that. And you're right again, Ted, pace was the one thing that didn't scare me, but when you've got a quick winger or a quick striker, you're always very alert. I was more than happy fighting Joe Jordan, Niall Quinn at 6'7", not a problem. That was my fight. I was in my element. But if you put a quick one, who springs to mind? Brian Mould, run me ragged. Pace, absolute pace. And it just, I don't know, I think there's a sick sign of intent here that Joe Edwards wants quick strikers and quick defenders. Well, he's out of my book of coaching there, because if you've got quick defenders, you're never going to get done. If you've got a quick striker, a defender's going to start thinking, oh my word, he's bloody quick, and you start dropping off, which allows you to get further forward as the attacking team. So, Yeah, I'm all in favour of that. And I'll also say, Ted, you touched on another one, injuries. We've got some of our better players coming back now. They're getting match fit. Right, they're fit, but you have to be match fit. And I look at Denori and Saville. I mean, they're going to be starting soon. And that's the midfielder playing out of their skins. Leonard's coming back. You know, these players, should be in the first team. They're what I would call the first pick. So add these two loanees coming in, add Denori and Saville, add Leonard, and all of a sudden we're beginning to put together a better team than the last few weeks, which is harsh on the players that have been holding the shirts.
Yeah.
And we've got better players. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
The club has moved on so far. And I firmly believe most of the fans don't appreciate just how good the players are on the pitch. But they're playing against even better players because they're at Leeds United and they're at Southampton and they're at Leicester. I mentioned in the first part of the show that Joe Edwards has got a long-term job. And his long-term job will be the next transfer window, which is the summer. And players will leave and players will come in depending on whether they're on a 2 or 3 year contract. And if he doesn't like them and they're on 3 year contracts, unless he can get them out and it's to the betterment for the player, they won't go. So it's a difficult one. But you could end up with a midfield, bit unbalanced, of Denori, Saville, Leonard, Watmore and Fleming. Sorry, Billy Mitchell. Sorry, Campbell. Sorry, Honeyman. But there's some really top players in that squad. And I think it's creating competition for places, but it's also saying we've got a wage bill here and somebody might have to be offloaded. And definitely in the summer, particularly if Joe Edwards has got his eyes on the players that he actually wants. So, interesting times.
Very interesting times, Phil. We'll take a break there and listen to a good mate of mine, Harvey Brown, talking about the Lions Food Hub.
Hi, Harvey Brown here. I am proud of the Lions Food Hub, which is jointly owned by Kelly and Ellen Webster, and they have been supporting families within our community for over 2 years on Millwall match days. If you would like to donate to them, they have a match day donation hub by the SE16 bar at Coleman Lane, end of the ground, where they accept any food or money and toiletry donations. If you can help, any donations will be received with thanks.
Thanks for that, Harvey. And of course, the Lions Food Hub are a brilliant organisation. If you don't forget to bring your items for the Lions Food Hub before any home game this season, you can hand them in or even make a donation at the hub to the left of the Coleman Lane stand, just opposite the Blue Bus Bar.
So you mentioned 2 quick things, Myles. You mentioned Nisbet. I'll call him a tapping merchant, and I've played with plenty of them, and you've known a few, the Linekers of this world, but Nisbet needs that service. He'll get a ball flicked across the back stick and he'll tap it in. He gets a little cross where he's pulled off the back. He needs service. I see him. He's constantly finding space in and around the penalty area, the 6-yard box, but nobody's picking him out. I've called it over the past years a disconnect in the final third. He goes to the back post, we cross to the front. He goes to the front, we cross to the...
Yeah, and to echo about Nisbet, Steve Clarke, the Scottish manager, said and quoted that he was the best finisher that they had. And I see him, when they have the warm-up before the game and they take their shots against... that boy, he hits it so cleanly that he is a top-class finisher, but he has to be given the ball to finish. And that is the key to it. And, that shot, if it was a foot lower, goes in the top of the net, they'd have been raving about Nisbet because it would have been a fantastic finish. He hit it first time, didn't think about it, and he just needs one of them to go in. And I just get the feeling if he gets kick-started into scoring goals, or more importantly, we get the players that can play around him to feed him, he will score. He will score goals.
He's already on 5 goals this season. He's literally our top goal scorer, tied with Zian Fleming.
Yeah,
them two have been the players that Millwall fans have picked out.
Yeah, but we've got the players. We've got Denori. He can pass the ball. Fleming can pass the ball. If Watmore gets past his defender, Norton Cuffy can get forward. And as for the guy coming in, he's going to take the weight off. Obafemi, he's going to command attention because he's so quick over the top. And if he gets behind, he squares it, you might get a tap in. So we've got the players. It's just joining up. It's just polishing it so that Fleming knows where he is, and Denori can slip those balls through for Obafemi. And if it's a cutback from the dead ball line because of the kid's pace, you might find what is more serviced. So, it's interesting to see how these jigsaw puzzle pieces are being put into place.
And that just to echo that to a certain extent, Phil, the other thing is I generally don't think Joe Edwards has found or put out what he would consider his best side so far, because he's had so many injuries here and there and people dropping out the squad for one reason or another, and coming back in, then another one drops out. There's no doubt in my mind that Denori is the best passer of ball that we've got, and I'm sure that Joe, in the style that he wants to play, he wants Denori out there. So there's been many occasions where we've had sides out there that are not really our best side. And I think he's still finding that and still feeling his way round with that. And once he gets the players out there that he wants out there into the style that he wants to play, we're going to take some beating, I think.
Yeah, and it's no good fans moaning and groaning whilst Denori and Saville on the bench. It's still a long season. We've still got 4 months left, and you don't bring back your injured players too quickly because you're going to lose them for the 4 months. If you give them a couple of weeks on the bench, give them the proverbial 20 minutes at the end, start them for 60, these players will come on and last a whole season. And you've also got this situation where, I mentioned it earlier in the show, I'm beginning to see a statement of intent. When you bring in Obafemi, Tanganga, you're starting to say, pace at the back and pace up front. Pace up front means the likes of Nisbet haven't got to fight centre-backs. The centre-backs are going to be skinned by the pace. And it's a new dimension. All of a sudden, Millwall got some pace up front. Instead of Bradshaw running the channels and Nisbet looking to find a tap-in, all of a sudden we might have somebody else. And the Maku's a bit like that. They've got these varieties they've got this pace, this athleticism. And it makes centre-backs and defenders worry. And they drop off. So our possession might go from 54% to 60%, 70% though, because they're scared of the threat of the ball in behind, because the kid, Obafemi, has got pace. So the dimensions might change. Things might change with the intent.
We've now reached the end of our 4th monthly show of the season. We really hope you have enjoyed it. Once again, thank you very much to Dean Wilson Family Funeral Directors for sponsoring this show. Phil, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
No problem. Absolutely love it every time.
And Superfan Ted, thank you, mate.
It's my pleasure, Myles, I tell you. And it's wonderful to be on a show with a real Millwall legend.
Exactly that.
That's you I'm talking about, Myles, you know that.
Oh, right. Oh, thank you very much.
Sorry, Phil.
No worries. I was thinking about Myles myself.
The next show is the weekly Millwall fan show hosted by Bethany Manxelo. Myself and Ted will be back on the panel alongside the amazing Stan Godwin. Thanks for listening, guys.